or two. A lot of things going on, a lot of door knocking going on, a lot of people around asking lots of questions about, hey, who should I vote for? And I'm going to tell you tonight, I'm going to tell you, check one block at the top of a ballot. Tell them about it, Mark.
Yeah, we're going to talk. One of the things we're going to talk about tonight is what the ballot looks like, what we want you to do with that ballot, how we like to see you fill that out, and then also explain a couple of things about the amendments. And then we're also going to talk to Mr. Troy Koch tonight.
He's here, guest speaker. Hey, listen, and if you're online and you're tuned in and you got the little bling that says, hey, we're live, then you can actually go in there and actually ask us a question in the chat box, because I got that up too. So if you want to ask Troy a question, chat it up. I'll ask him hard right here and just how you're asking it.
I have to apologize to everyone. I forgot to bring the phone. We have the phone, the party phone out at the headquarters that's being used to make phone calls, and I needed to stop by and pick that up on the way. So no phone calls tonight. Sorry, guys. Unless you want to call me on my cell phone, I'll give that to you. I don't care.
You can still chat.
A lot of activity at the headquarters, Mark.
It is. There is. We've had a lot of people in there, and we've had some folks stopping in. It's a nice place for us to. It's a nice place for people to be able to just stop in. You can visit with the ladies that are working there. You can
pick up a sign.
Pick up a sign. You can actually get some literature, or just hang out a little bit and see who's coming in and out. So, you never know. You might have Troy stop in. You might have some of the workers. Some of the workers, you'll stop in just to use the restroom or something when you're outdoor knocking. You gotta think about that kind of stuff when you're outdoor knocking, right? What's the break plan? How do I get a water? How do I use the restroom? Things like that. I mean, it's those things that you don't think about when you're out trying to reach the people.
Right.
So where have you been working at this week, Troy?
Well, I've been over in the Woodland area, working Woodland Road. I worked Rabbit Run Road a couple weeks ago, and now I'm over at where did we?
That was Robbins Road. Robbins Road, I think.
Yeah, I did a good portion of that development today.
How's that sounding for you for the campaign? What are the concerns of the community?
Well, I've had a lot of good questions. I had a gentleman ask me about emergency warning system. Mm-hmm. It was very appropriate. I mean, the area that he lived, there was a lot of very nice double-wide trailers on foundations, but again, they didn't have places that they could basements and so on.
Right.
They could shelter, so they need that time. I don't know what that answer is. I know that that's an emergency.
The sirens,
emergency. I'm trying to think.
Emergency services.
Emergency services. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you one thing, because when we were talking about it earlier, I really felt like I was a little surprised, but I was surprised that there weren't sirens, that people were worried about sirens, because this county was devastated during the April 3rd, 74 tornadoes. Mm-hmm. Brandenburg. I think Brandenburg lost 31 people by itself, just in town there, and in the surrounding areas, I guess. But yeah, so there was people were so in tuned to, hey, we need to be able to warn people to make sure that these things happen. And so I was thinking, okay, yeah, so April 3rd, 74 happens over the next 5 or so years. Man, they're really building up and making the system more robust, more sirens and things like that around the county. But when I was sitting there just thinking about it, we've grown.
Right.
We've grown. There's more areas out in the county that haven't really been, that maybe we haven't thought about. We need to put another siren at certain locations or certain intersections. And, that's why it's so great to get out and meet people.
Right.
Because, we wouldn't have thought about it. Now, I get it. Nowadays, you get your cell phone. Your cell phone gives you an alert, mm-hmm. right? And that's probably how most of us get our severe our emergency alerts nowadays. But that's not everybody. Not every place in the county is even covered by a good solid cell signal. So,
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on what kind of services you have to come into your house. When you get out in my area, I've never heard an emergency siren. I don't think they exist out where I live.
I've
I'm
seen
very extremely rural.
I've seen your tornado warning system out at your house.
Yeah.
It's a tripod with a rock tied to a rope, and if the rock is wet, it's raining. If it's moving around slightly, it's windy.
windy.
That's right. But if that thing is gone and missing, there's probably a tornado. Yeah.
Well, we do look out at the American flag, and when it's standing out tall, we're like, there might be some good weather coming in.
Yeah, I can bet.
And you get out your way, you get it before the rest of us.
And sometimes we do,
Yeah.
sometimes we miss it.
Yeah.
Just depends on the river and where it's coming through.
Yeah,
Coming back to that, I mean that's really, I think the difference when you're a public servant, and I've had this conversation a lot over how do you retain and be a public servant, and a public servant serves the public, and the only way that you can serve the public is you've got to maintain relevancy with the public.
That's right.
You've got to have connection with the public, and one of the things that that I'm talking to a lot of people about, is bringing better, clear transparency to our government in Meade County. There's a lot of people just don't know what's going on.
That's right.
And so, one of the things that was a very effective tool for me, as a commander in the military, was town halls, getting out to see, not just go out and you see the facilities, you see the area. You let people take you to what the problem is. So you see it, it's eyes on the situation. That gives you a better understanding of what's going on. But by bringing out town halls, one, from the judge executive's point of view, what's going on in our county?
Yeah, you're putting a bullseye right on your chest.
Oh, well, absolutely. I mean, that's being a true public servant.
Yeah, and I don't think you need to pound your chest when you actually hear a problem and you solve it. I think that the community will speak up on behalf of that. And then, the people that it took to get there. That's one of the things I know about you. It's like you're not going to go pound your chest. Look what I did. It's not about that. It's about, like, what was this problem? We need to fix that. We go fix it. And then, if all the magistrates helped you get that done, or somebody locally in that community government helps get that done so that the citizens... There's no need to pound your chest. That's what you're talking about.
Well, Steve, in leadership, there's no I in leadership.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's leadership is a team effort.
Mm-hmm.
You may be able to give the direction, but at the end, of the day, it's everyone's teamwork. It's all the people that are working in unison that are getting things done. I mean, you as a leader you're not doing it.
So, Troy, I know you've worked at several. I'm just trying to explain it in a background way that doesn't give a bias, because I served with you, but I want to help the people understand. But there's a lot of decisions with a lot of moving parts at the level at which you've served, with thousands. And I'm not talking like thousands, like you whip out $2,000 in cash. I'm talking like 48,000 people, $5 billion worth of facilities, and I can probably be more than that. I don't know, but it's expensive because you couldn't just wipe it out and replace it. But at that expense, at that leadership level, have you always gotten it right?
No, you don't always get it right. You do the best job you can with what you have. What I will tell you, when you're looking at finances, as when I was given a budget, I looked at it as my obligation. My boss was giving me an amount of money to manage, and how I would set up my spending plan, and that's what you do at the beginning of the year. No different than you're looking at your family finances budget. We spend down to a 0.00 at the end of the year. That's success. And so that's what we always drove for. Now, depending on, and we can go on and on and on about, however our government, when they pass budgets, when they don't pass budgets. I mean, that spending plan, which is a plan, and everything about a plan is once you start execution, it always changes. But then you start adjusting that plan based off of what your spending criteria is. you may have more money some years, and then you may have less money. So you have to adjust, and then you have to prioritize. What it is. Again, what you make is an order of merit list over what is truly important to, and you prioritize it based off what you're going to spend. So, depending on how much money you have or how little money you get, then you adjust accordingly based off of importance. And that's generated by, from the government side is security.
Yeah. So I'll tell you, for those that are out there listening, they know I'm the greasy-haired Texan, and that's okay. But I will tell you this. I got on the Troy train not because of my service with Troy, but because I know his experience. And I will tell you that in the situation he's describing, he's being very humble, but when time was required and that money wasn't there, Troy knew how to go after it. He knew how to work with the government in order to identify the problems that were beyond the scope, the time, and the means that were already available to him based off of the budget and this cycle. And that's one of the things that I think is going to be critical to Meade County's development is having somebody that knows when enough is enough. We can't solve all of the world's problems, but we do have some that are beyond the normal that the state needs to know about, that the federal government needs to know about. And because of those relationships that you already actually have with the state at higher levels, just through your military service and your as a reserve ambassador with legislators, but just in your experience alone at working with those individuals, in a real world life and death situation for the humanity of facilities and those many lives that are affected by closures or keeping things open. And I think it's important for the audience to know that is part of your experience and your resume. I know you don't gloat about it a lot, but I think you should talk about that tonight a little bit.
Well, one of the things we talk about, when you're working with people in political positions, what I found is keeping them informed is extremely important. And
That's what we hear all the time. We always hear, well, how do I know? Where do I find that information? And even when the information's available, they're
still uninformed.
They still feel like they're uninformed.
Sure.
So we have to give them multiple avenues. I'm sorry, just wanted to.
Well, and when we talk about informed, so in my largest command, when I was in charge of the Upper East Coast, from Maine to Virginia, West Virginia, Pennsylvania, those 13 northeastern states, I had 26 senators and 104 congressmen and women that, and I had a legislative liaison that actually worked with each one of those legislative offices, because again, from a perspective of dollars wise, we had facilities in each one of those states, in each one of those sometimes counties, districts, and so on. So what we would try to spend whenever I went out to a state, we would hit the congressional offices there and specifically deal with the areas, with what was important to them. So if I had a facility within their location, then we would talk about, what the value of that facility is, how many people work there, what their paychecks were, what the infusion was into the local community, because that's really that's really important. It's important to not just to the community, but again, that's something that the congressman or woman from a local level can bank on.
Right.
Okay? That's why they're trying to bring that business.
Right. They can basically make a sales pitch from that, right? To their people and say, hey, if we protect this, or if we can invest here, then we can now, this installation or these people will remain in our community and be able to grow. I mean, we've had to deal with that with Fort Knox around here forever and ever. We've seen the ebb and flow of Fort Knox over the years. I can't quote the numbers of how many people were on Fort Knox at what time, but we've seen it where Radcliffe becomes like basically almost a ghost town, and then then it's revitalized again when a new when Fort Knox changes into a morphs into another another service or another not command, that's not the word I'm looking for, but you know what I mean, where its mission has changed.
Yeah.
Right. Over time. So, so it's awesome to know, that you've got that insight. And with Fort Knox right here, it's going to be really huge and important to Meade County to have you in place as our judge executive, because you'll be able to work within those realms. And I'm
there's
excited.
a big need for Meade County to not just that we're growing, but in our growth to also support our neighbors. When people come into Fort Knox, I mean, the closest place they go to stay is either Louisville or up in Elizabethtown. Well, we got a place to provide facilities here, but that's part of the growth plan and having the vision to see that forward. But I want to change the subject a little bit, because I want to talk about Mark and I had an interesting conversation this week with somebody we know, interesting perspective. And I think we all walked out of there kind of in agreement that, there's a lot of frustration when you see people that were elected into office, and I'm not going to go into specific particulars.
I don't need to get into all the details.
No, but I'm going to get to the main point, and that is, currently there's a lot of America that's very frustrated about, people when they say they're running for something and then they're not going to do this, but they're going to do this and yada, yada, yada. And I'll give you an example. They shut the pipeline down. They said they weren't going to do that. They did it. And look at the gas prices. I'll even say this about the gas price. I've been wanting to say this for a while. Later, the same administration said to the Russian government, we're going to shut down the pipeline because we know it'll have an economic impact on your economy.
And how can you...
So if you know that you're going to have an economic impact on the Russian economy by shutting down a pipeline, then why did you shut ours down? And to my next point is that you said you weren't going to do that, but then you were going to be a unifier of everyone. But the only unity I see is separation.
Well, I mean, I know we don't want to get too deep into some of these things, but from my point of view, I'll give you my point of view.
Go ahead.
There's tactics that happen on the federal level and on the state level and on the local. Now we see it on the local level. We've seen it for several years. Just attacks and our local Republicans can't just seem to ever do anything right because there's always some sort of secret society thing going on in the background. Must be. I'm just going to speculate on that. It's my opinion of that, but
there is no secret thing with the Republican Party though. You can come to any meeting you want to.
It's wide open. These people, if you would just get to know people and see who they are and such, you would learn that these people are not the same type of people that you make them out to be. And so the thing is I want to talk about the tactics a little bit, because what I'm seeing right now is I see some local shenanigans going on, and it's like I don't understand why we heard a story this week about that. Did you know that Troy has a running mate? Did you know that
Troy has who's his running mate?
No, there is no running mate, obviously.
How can you have a running mate for an office that's singular?
It's a single. There is no vice. There is no vice judge executive, right?
No.
I'm like, but there's people going around in the community that obviously want Mr. Stith to win, and they're going around and trying to convince people who already have Troy's sign in his yard by saying that his running mate is a felon. And that you should not trust Troy, and that's just to me is the craziest thing I've ever heard.
See, that's the deceit. So I will say that to my point, having confidence in the leadership of the person that you're voting for matters, even at the local level.
It does.
And I would say that we've got more than just you running Troy. I mean,
right.
and I will tell you, out of all of the candidates, we have been running a clean, slander-free race. Now, we'll call a spade a spade. You know what I mean? Like having the confidence.
We're talking about policy.
That's right.
We're talking about policy and about the things you're doing. We're not going to talk about. We're not going to try to go out and say, "Oh, Mr. Stith is this person or that person." Mr. Stith.
I think we've complimented him on this show on a few different occasions.
That's probably so. But we're going to point out, yes, he was a member of the lawsuit.
Yes,
against
that's
fiscal
a fact.
court when he was appointed.
Hence, Meade
right?
Truth. Yeah, that's a fact.
Right. So he was appointed.
He's
he was
appointed.
not. He was not
Elected.
elected. He's never been elected to anything that I know of in the county.
So I'll tell you this. I went on his site one day because he had posted, see what I've done. See what I've done on for Meade County. I got this parking lot approved, and I know that was actually already working by the magistrates who had wanted that.
That's right.
But he took credit for it. I actually posted on his website. I thought my First Amendment rights were being violated, but I posted. I said, I don't think you did that all by yourself. Don't you want to give credit to the other people that helped you achieve that? And then it got deleted.
But
I
see,
was
that's
not happy about
that's
that.
the big difference between him and Jerry Lynn. Jerry Lynn never stood up and said, "Look what I did." I've never heard those words out of his mouth. He always had, whenever something was going on, every magistrate got a call. Every magistrate was at a groundbreaking. Every magistrate was there to celebrate.
That's right.
And that's because Jerry knew the hearts of those magistrates. He knew that what they're working their tails off, even the Democrat ones, to make Meade County better.
Well,
but he didn't care about the accolades and things. Did he want to get reelected? Yes, he wanted to be reelected, but he did not do that. He did not. Did not grandstand as a method to get there.
So I will say, back to my original point, though, having confidence in the leadership that you have, I can say unequivocally that I have a tremendous amount of trust. And I want to clear that up. Troy does not have a running mate. There is no additional person running with Troy for office. This is not like the president and then he selected a vice president. That's not happening. And there is no known felon running with Troy for the judge executive office. I'm not a felon and I'm not running for any office. And I've been the biggest promoter for you because I'm their campaign manager but I don't get a single dime. This is like all volunteer. This podcast is all volunteer. So if you want to listen to rhetoric, that's why we have The Meade Truth. And I'm excited to tell everybody about our paper that's coming out. If you are in Meade County and you are a Meade County resident, we are actually going to publish an editorial Meade Truth paper that will be coming every door and every business too. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, it'll hit every address in Meade County. We'll say 95% because there's going to be some routes that maybe we can't get to.
Yeah.
But it'll come in your mail. It'll be through the post office. You'll get it in the next within the next couple of weeks. We're actually going to have 2 editions. We'll have one in about 2 weeks, and then one probably about a week or so after that, right before the election.
Now,
so,
Troy, you got an article in that too that tells you a little bit about your story, a little bit more too. Yep. You want to give a little secret or insight about where you're coming from in your article?
Well, again, the article just talks about some of my background, gives people a little bit a better feel for what I'm wanting to do. What my perspective is and some of my background.
Yeah.
Really, I mean, that's what I bring to this position, is that experience of years and years of leadership, of lots and lots of, extremely large projects, and units, and people. My last large command, I managed, I had 2,500 employees that work for me on a daily basis. Again, when I talk about that, everything is built with team.
Yep.
You have people, any kind of leadership position, you have people that work for you and underneath you. Mm-hmm. The greatest thing for a leader to be able to do is to be able to create the vision, for people to work with, what we call it in the military.
Now, hold on. I want to make sure it was clear. Create the vision, not, it almost sounded like you said create division, but because it's the radio, but it's create vision.
Vision.
Right.
That's right.
So go ahead. Sorry. Create the vision.
When you're creating vision, you're allowing people, a good way to put it is call it mission command. And I was talking to a gentleman earlier today, who was in the military, and when I talked to him about how a lot of my junior NC non-commissioned officers, when they would come up to me and they would say, "Well, sir, what kind of decision, what do you want to do?" And I said, "Well, what do you need to do?"
That's right.
You give the power back to the people that are actually doing the job.
That's right.
And you allow them, and through that, then what you do is you help teach, train, and coach to help people become better than what they were. And you allow them to go out and do the things that
Empower.
hired. You empower them to do what they're supposed to do. Nobody has all the answers, and nobody's smart enough to know what all the questions are. But that's why we have people that work for us, okay, underneath us that are experts, and we allow those experts to do their jobs.
Well, I think if you didn't get enough from tonight, you should definitely go to the Vote Troy Koch Facebook, Instagram page. You had 4 videos posted recently. I think we're gonna get those out even through some more channels, and we should start hearing you a little bit more in some other media areas and spaces. I don't want to give all our secrets away, but you're definitely out and about. And if you have not talked to Troy, you can reach him at his website at votetroykoch.org. You can email, there's an email link, or contact us. You click that link and it's going to send an email directly to both Troy and I, and we'll make sure that we set up a time to come out and reach you. He'll even call you. So, and I've seen you do this. So how's that always gone and worked out for you?
Well, I believe, when somebody's asking you a question, it's important that you get back to them as soon as possible. And, I had a gentleman that I talked to last night. He asked one of the people that were out door knocking for me. He said, I'd really like to talk to him and get his viewpoints on certain things. I had no idea what the questions were going to be. But I called him. He says, would you mind if I, put you on speaker to me and my, for me and my wife to listen? I said, absolutely. And we had a good conversation. And that's really what this is all about. It's about a conversation. You can't learn unless you listen.
That's right. So I want to speak on that moment. A lot of people that met you or haven't met you yet have heard rumor mills like, oh, this guy's military. He's going to be a big hard ass and he's going to come in here and screw the old county up. I've heard that comment even as we've gone around. And tell the public that's listening right now or will listen later, because you've run head to head with a lot of those individuals. How did it turn out when you were done?
I'm not following what you're.
So you've come up against some of those hardliners that thought, this guy's military, but they have this impression. They have this
door knocking.
Yeah, they have this impression about you already. They a preconceived notion about you because of what they know about the military, and they had no idea what to expect when they see you. And then after they met you, it's a completely different. What is that? And how often has that happened?
Well, I have had some people that were. I wouldn't say I haven't hit anybody that's been truly confrontational. I've had some people say, hey, you don't worry about it. And that's okay. I say, hey, have a good day. It's whatever. But I've had somebody, some people have wanted to engage and we have a conversation.
That's right.
I start off with listening first.
It's always good to have a conversation.
Yeah. How do you answer somebody's question if you can't listen to what the question is? That's why I just, is a great example. I said,
Amen.
I said, Steve, what exactly do you mean by
that's
that?
Right.
And if you don't get clarification, then you're talking over someone. And what I found is a lot of times people want to be heard. They may have something that they're very strong about, and they want to be heard first. You've got to give them the time to talk, and then once they've talked, then what you can do is you can engage them with knowledge that you have, and if you don't know, you say you don't know.
That's
right.
There's a sign of good leadership.
No reason to lie.
A sign of good leadership is being setting out a plan, and when new information comes up, be ready to pivot. Be ready to say, hey, nope, we didn't have that in the plan. We're going to adjust and move on and continue moving forward, rather than always trying to force the old plan into place. I'm going to try to be ready to pivot when something comes at you, and it was unforeseen. There's a lot of things. COVID was unforeseen, so a lot of people had to learn how to pivot. We started working from home. We started working, people started their own businesses and things to try to, to make extra income, so they didn't have to go. So they had a little bit more, or I should say they didn't, so they would have a little bit more control of their environment they were in. And they a lot of people did that, but that's a pivot, right? That's what we do. And as leaders, that's what I've heard this entire conversation is, we've heard you talk about how you make adjustments, you listen to people, you take those things in, and then you're willing to make a decision after that, but constantly getting that feedback from them so that you're constantly making a better decision each time.
So I guess what I was going to is I because of what you just said, there's been a lot of perception change because, that all of us that come out of the military, everybody really don't know us. You know what I mean? That it's actually we're just like normal people. We just wear a uniform every day. I don't have to pick out which color or anything like that. But they've actually got to know you, and I, from what I've heard, that there's like, wow, he's just like us. You know what I mean? And I've seen a lot of that and heard a lot of that too on the back end.
No, I've never looked at myself as being better than anyone else.
That's right.
I mean, it is, I made a comment that, there's no I in team. There's no I in leadership. Being a humble servant is really what it's about. I put my pants on just like anybody else. When I started my military career, I was a private. I didn't even have what we call skeeter wings. I mean, I was an E1 nothing.
Nothing.
I went through basic
Slick strip.
training. I had nothing. But I learned a lot of value over that. And my father brought me up to work hard.
Yeah.
To be a part of. When you see somebody in need, you give them a hand.
That's right.
You're out there, you do what you're supposed to do. And that's been a part of that. That's one of the leadership skills that I was taught a long time ago, is to be a part of. Now, as a leader, I have to know when to disengage. So my team is putting up a tent, and they need help. Well, I can give them. I'm not too good not to give them help. I'm not too good to sweat, but I also may have that meeting that I may need to disengage. That's not for them to tell me to disengage. That's for me to know when I need to disengage. But what I found is that, again, just, being a part of it, is just being a part of the team.
Right.
And I've always done that throughout, all of the time that I've been in the military. And, I just never felt comfortable in allowing people to do for me what I can do for myself.
Well, I think you're killing it out there. I think one of the other things that's really cool is that you've been promoting Amendment 1 and 2 on behalf of Nancy and the rest of the political party.
On our behalf.
On our behalf.
Yeah.
And I wanted to transition to that. Mark, you were going to talk a little bit.
And I'll tell you that I talk to everyone. It's irregardless of...
Regardless?
Of who I talk to, whether they're in Hardin County. I mean, I've run into people that don't live here. But, the first thing I say, do you live in Kentucky?
Right.
And if they say that they live in Kentucky, I said, well, this is for you. Please listen to this because you're a voter. And this is for all Kentucky.
You got to remember the amendments are Kentucky-wide.
It's our state's constitution.
That's right.
It's for our Kentucky. As Kentuckians, we need to vote on these amendments. We need to be able to display what's important to us and what's not important.
If I can plug it in there, vote yes for these amendments.
Yeah. If there was ever a time to vote where you thought that your vote, and you're a voter that thinks, well, my vote doesn't count. Actually, it does. Because the state cannot make an amendment to the Constitution. The people make the amendment.
Right.
They can recommend, but the people make the vote. And I would hate for an amendment to the Constitution of the state of Kentucky, the Commonwealth of Kentucky, to be made by less than 1% or 3% of the total voters in this state who have the right to say yes. And then dictate that you believe in life and that all life matters, and then have that vote, and to give some legislative powers back that the governors can't take advantage of.
That's right.
So
thanks, Troy, for going out there and representing us and our values, and for standing up for these amendments, because I know you're out there working for you, but you're not just working for you. You're already serving all of us. by doing this. You're not just serving yourself in your own campaign. You're working for not just you and the amendments. You're working for all your other candidates. You're talking up the other candidates and things while you're out there. So for me, the party, we really thank you for the work and the effort you're putting in for everyone. So thank you.
I mean, this is really important. And, you know, the other thing I talked to him real quick, Mark, and I know we're going to talk about this, but again, it's a part of the last things that I say. I grab everybody. I mean, I got to stop you. Hey, look, I know you want to get into but let me talk to you about these two things. The other part I bring up too is I need to remind everybody that it's the last two items on the ballot.
We're about to show them.
We're going to show them
right now. I got it ready queued up here in just a
It
second.
is the last two items, and I tell people, however you're going to vote, please remember these are at the bottom of the ballot. You've got to go all the way to the end.
So we're actually going to show them that. I'm going to cue over to you, Mark, to talk a little bit about it real fast. But on the screen, what I'm going to have is come up. The interesting part is we've been promoting on this show, and it's realistically, it's this section right here that we've been talking about, and it's, vote straight party. If you click that box and block it in, you don't have to fill anything else out. Wrong. You really got to go to the bottom because you still got to vote for these two because that button does not select your answer for these two. And if
it does not select, all it does is select Republicans
for every category.
For every category that a Republican is running.
That's right.
Right? So when you check that box up there for a straight party, Republican Party, you still need to scroll down and vote on judges, right? Not judge executive. Judge executive is a partisan race, but there are nonpartisan races that'll be in each one. And most important, you have to go all the way to the bottom. On here, it's on a second page.
Yeah, I'm showing them the nonpartisan. Hold on. So these are the nonpartisan sections.
Yeah. So if we want to take a look, it's a little hard to read on the thing. I don't know if you can. You can just go to bigger.
They can zoom in, but so the highlighted sections I'm doing, but the last page contains the Constitutional Amendment 1, and it's straightforward. I mean, this thing is. Are you in favor of amending the present Constitution of Kentucky to repeal sections 36, 42, and 55 to replace those sections with the new sections of the Constitution of Kentucky to allow the General Assembly to meet in regular sessions? That's the long part. And it talks about, short and sweet is it allows the legislation to call itself back to legislation.
Yeah. So
save its days and come back.
Right. So they did change legislation during COVID or after COVID that says if the governor calls for a state of emergency, if he declares a state of emergency, then 30 days later, the legislature is automatically called back in for oversight and to help, vote and new monies and things. What we found under COVID was that a lot of governors were stuck. They didn't have the monies that they needed, so they had to use executive orders. Some executive orders were okay, and others were not. We can go to liquor stores, but you couldn't go to church. You can go get an abortion, but you couldn't go to church. And we had, state police out taking people's license plate numbers down because they were going to church. We don't need that kind of stuff. That was an overreach. He knows it. Our governor, Andy Beshear, knows it. And that's why he continuously sues. He sued about this to try to keep that from happening. But now the legislature is saying, hey, we're going to amend the Constitution so that we have some control, not full control. They're not asking for more money. They're not asking for extra days. They're saying, hey, when the governor, if something should happen, whether it's a governor related, the governor does something, or if just something else happens in the state that we need to reconvene, they can save back up to 10 days, I think it is, or some number of days.
Yeah, they would fence 10 days off out of the primary session.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it won't cost taxpayers any additional.
Yeah. So instead of meeting for 60 days, they meet for 50 days. Right. And now those 10 days, and then they never really go out of session. They basically take a pause. They're not getting paid or anything like that. Mm-hmm. They take a pause, and if something occurs in the other 10 months of the year, they can now call themselves back in without the governor calling them. And so that's what the law did. But the Constitution, that's what this Constitution Amendment is doing, is it gives them freedom even outside of a declaration of emergency. So it's a really long piece it's a really long thing on this. And so in a nutshell, that's all it says. The reason it's so long, Amendment 1 is so long, is because it's changing existing parts of the Constitution. So they have to tell you all the legalese about what's going in, what's changing, what's moving. So it's this big, it becomes this big long list.
So can we post this ballot on the Facebook page? We have the link that takes you to it. The sample ballot?
It's actually, I got this from Judy Jordan's
website, because I'm on there right now. It's not easy to find, so that's why I was asking.
We should be able to pull that in and just put it into our.
Just paste it in the comments.
Paste it in the comments. People can come there and look for it. And
actually, I'll put it in. I'll update the title of the show for this tonight's episode, and we'll put it in there. It'll have a hyperlink. Yeah,
that'd be great. And then I think we can also, and then we could probably put it in the Mead GOP and the Mead Truth web pages as a
and this is
as a post.
Not the official ballot, but this is what it may look like.
This is what's called the composite ballot.
That's right.
So the ballot is this is what you can expect in depending. Now everything that's on here will be somewhere in Meade County. So Ekron, for instance, only those people who are in the corporate limits of Ekron will be able to vote for Ekron mayor for the city of Ekron and the city commissioners, right? And so, and then the same thing for Muldrow, same thing for Brandenburg. So all those.
Did you notice that Sean Michael Holes Apple is running as an independent in this?
I did, and he's the guy that there's some controversy as to whether or not. Isn't he the one
that's the felon? And are they confusing the fact that there's a felon?
I don't know.
There's a felon independent on the ballot?
I don't know.
I mean, I don't either. We're going to go look that up and get an answer to you, because I don't want to get Troy considered like this is a running mate, because we didn't have an independent runner in the race until they saw how powerful Troy was for a candidate for the Republican Party. And I believe that guy might be in there to split the vote. That's a Steve Lake opinion, not a fact, but I will look it up.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of things that go in here. I mean, I've heard a lot of rumors about Mr. Holesapple. I've never looked him up to see if any of it's true or what have you. So I'm not going to talk through it too much. That is. We should
look him up.
There is a rumor.
I haven't looked him up about his candidate, so we need to find out who this candidate is. And
well, I mean, I don't want to give him too much. I mean, he's an independent. This is a very strong Republican county now. And then even further, I mean, and the Democratic Party is much stronger than the independents. But it's there are about 10% of the people out there are listed as some other than a Republican, other than Democrat, and the biggest chunk of those are listed as independents. But there's a lot of people in Meade County that are listed as other, right? Officially listed as other. There is no other category. The only other category is you didn't choose a category.
I've met people from the Green Party. I've met.
There are 4 socialists in the county.
Okay, so this is why I thought that, because when I type in that name, the first thing I get is like a mug shot. So
well, I mean, I've heard that. I don't want to. Again, I don't want to promote or what have you. I just want to say that I don't want to put too much attention on that, because I want to really just go through. Let's go back to the ballot and let's talk about that. I see he's on there. He is for whatever reason he's on there. Maybe he's there to split the vote. I don't know how you get somebody who's fairly unknown and has supposedly has a record to be able to split the vote. But be careful out there, everyone. Do research. If you have any questions about any of the candidates or any of the policies, you can contact our candidates directly. You can contact us at the Meade County Republican Party at 270-945-3418. Normally we would have that open for you tonight, but I forgot that. But there will at least be able to, you'll be able to at least leave a message there, and we'll get back to you. You know, you can reach us on our Facebook pages. You can reach us through our contact on our meetgop.com or meetruth.com. So we just ask us. We will try to do our best. We are putting as much information out there. We don't hide anything. If you ask us about somebody, we will definitely tell you what's going on. We'll explain any situations that may occur or whatever. But there's no right now. What I know is in what I see and what's in my heart, and the people that I've been working with and seeing for the last year and a half, we have some incredibly strong Christian candidates who are running as Republicans. They are servants. They have servants' hearts. They care so much about Meade County and us as residents. They are not. These are not self-serving people.
I'm highlighting them as you're talking.
So I feel very, very strongly about one thing here. I would like every person to vote straight Republican ticket. On that straight ticket box, choose Republican.
Right here.
Right? Choose Republican. Mark that in. Black that in. And the reason is it's going to send a message to the county, to the state, and the federal government. The people who are looking at these elections are going to say, "Oh my gosh, look at all the people. They're fed up with the Democratic Party antics. They're fed up with what they see going on the TV and the media, and they're going to vote Republican, and they're going to stand behind these Republicans because they're standing up for us, they're standing up for our values, and they're standing up for Meade County as a whole." And so that will send a message that, hey, that it's something that people look at. They look at how many straight party ballots were checked, and it will show up. It's like lighting a light from the earth and it being seen in outer space. It'll be a beacon for them to see, and they'll be seeing what's going on. And so please go out there and do that. Talk to your neighbors. Tell them straight Republican ticket. Let's send that message. So anyway, let's get back to the ballot and the way it's pointed, the way it looks. So everybody is going to see the straight party. You're going to see United States Senator. You're going to see United States Representative. You're going to see Nancy Tate, State Representative, which is only Nancy Tate. There's no one running against her.
Right here.
Everyone's going to see Property Valuation Administrator. So we're asking you to vote for
Gabe
Chapman. If you hit the Republican straight party, you can skip that part. Well, you don't have to go back and check all of them. You can.
Hey Mark, we had that discussion the other day that if you mark straight party and then you go ahead and you mark everyone underneath that there could be some things that happen.
So yeah, I'll
explain that.
Yeah, let me explain. So if you mark straight Republican Party ticket at the top, and then you go down and you choose, you happen to mark in a Democrat somewhere, it will not count that vote for you. It'll be an overvote for that particular race. So be very careful. I see no reason for any of you to vote for a Democrat, but if there's somebody that wanted to, and you voted, I don't want you to lose your vote. But at the same time, I'm going to explain how this works a little bit. So there's two things that happens. There's overvotes and there's undervotes. Overvotes means you voted for too many people in a particular race, and an undervote means you didn't choose anybody.
That's right.
In a particular race. So what I want you to do is I want you to vote Republican, and then if you're going to mark others, just to be sure, make sure you're marking all Republicans. So we get that. So it only my understanding is it only affects the race that you might have picked a second candidate in. So
what were you gonna say, Troy?
I was going to say, if I remember right, in the primary, we did have a lot of undervotes, did we not?
We did, and we had a lot of undervotes. People just didn't want to vote because they either didn't know the candidate or they refused to vote for either one because they didn't support that candidate, which is an option.
That's okay.
I'm not happy with either one of these people running, and I don't want to vote for that section, but I want to vote for everything else because I think they're going to be super awesome.
Yeah, I'm going to run through these real quick. Property Valuation Administrator will be on everyone's ballot. Gabe Chapman is our candidate there. He's the Republican. He's a conservative. He's a great husband, great
listener,
friend, great listener. I mean, he and his dad are some of the best, two of the best listeners that I've ever met. So, and no, that neither one of them paid me to say that on the air. So, then you're going to have the next one is
paid?
I don't get paid by anyone. County Judge Executive Troy Koch sitting in here with us today. Yes, vote Troy Koch. Mark him in if you need to. If you want, straight Republican ticket as a vote for Troy Koch. So please.
I got Sydney Durham as the county attorney. She's not running unopposed, so still need to make sure we check her. And then Susan Masterson for county clerk, Republican Party candidate. She's actually number 2 there when Judy's not around. So
yeah,
she's got the experience, the background. She knows what she's doing.
She's the chief deputy for. Thank you for cutting in there for me. I had a little bit of cough there. So county clerk. County Clerk Susan Masterson. She's been there a long time. She's she is well qualified. She has been there. She's a great lady. Let me I can't say that enough. She's
you got
she's really strong.
Sheriff Wimpy and current sheriff running again, Philip Wimpy.
Yep.
For,
Been a great sheriff for us.
And then jailer running unopposed, JJ Scarborough. Won't really talk about the coroner or surveyor because we really didn't have anybody to go up against those two. Magistrate first. Magisterial district.
Now this will be in your Muldrow and
District 1, which I'm in.
District 1, so it'll be Muldrow and Greyhampton, and that's like you said, that's Steve's district. Steve's in the Muldrow district.
If you live near Otter Creek and in this area, and you go to the dollar store here or the dollar store in Muldrow, you're probably in District 1. And I think they got a little piece of Fort Knox there too for District 1.
Just a little bit, yeah. There's a sliver of it over there. So we're voting. We're asking you all to vote for Tom Goddard. Please make sure that you go out and vote. There is no one running in the constable race. So
hold on, I want to go back. There's a lot of promises being made for certain elections in that race. And I will tell you that the previous mayor who's running against Tom Goddard, or the current mayor that's running against Tom Goddard, is not the one you need to vote for. That guy's had so many opportunities that Tom Goddard's brought money to that city, and that city could have prospered off of the money that was brought in from the state from Tom, and they just never did the job. So if he can't do the job as the mayor, he's not going to do the job as the district magistrate. So Tom Goddard is the choice.
And Tom has represented this district very, very well. He is so passionate. He gets out. He's out working every day. He's out talking to you. He's looking at. He hits it every day.
Yeah.
More and more. I know Ruth is always asking us for more signs and things. So let's move on. So if we go over to, so that's District 1. District 2 is over in
Eli Dix.
Eli Dix. He is going to. I'm trying to. It's not showing up here on the.
No,
thing, so.
and I got Billy Sipes is District 3. He's running against Charlie Brown for Democratic Party. So you need to definitely get Billy Sipes reelected. And then the constable race, which we have it's James Christopher Clark. He's running unopposed in the primary. And then magistrate for 4th District is Gary Chapman. He's also running unopposed.
That's right.
And then the 5th District is Steve Waldrop running unopposed. And then the constable race is unopposed for the 5th magisterial district. But that's not Republican. We didn't have anybody run against that.
And that brings us to the 6th district, which is Trey Webb is the Republican out there. We need you guys to get out and vote for him. Trey's been in the community, and and his family have been out there forever. They're great sponsors for the community, and Trey is going to be a great representative.
So if you didn't have any objection to any of those that I just mentioned or that Mark just mentioned, you only got to check one block. And it's
That's right.
the straight ticket Republican Party, which was at the very top of the ballot, which was right here. And if you don't check anything else, the only other areas you got to vote in is the nonpartisan sections. They're highlighted heavily. And then you vote for the constitutional amendments. And then you're done. You're out of the booth.
That's right. And so, so make sure that you go down and vote yes for Amendment 1 and yes for Amendment 2. Amendment 2, remember, that's the one that allows us to clarify for all the future judges and everything that we in Kentucky, our Constitution does not protect the right to secure or protect the right to an abortion or require funding an abortion. Our Constitution, it cannot be construed anywhere in our Constitution. So by voting yes, you're saying that our Constitution does not allow for that and leaves it up to the legislature to say yes or no. And so, guys, come out and vote. We need you guys to get out and vote as soon as we need all of you to go out and vote. All you Republicans, we need you to go out and vote. Vote straight Republican ticket. Let's send a message. Let's get it. Let's get 60, 70, 80% of our Republicans to come out and vote. I know it's unheard of to have that many come out and vote, but we need to send that type of message.
More importantly, if you can't get out to vote, call our number at 270-945-3418. Leave us a message. Message us on the Mead Truth in the chat. Say, hey, I'd like a ride. We have early voting that begins, it's like 2 weeks before.
So unexcused early voting is November 3rd, 4th, and 5th. That's
right.
at the fairgrounds. Right. Mm-hmm. And then the in-person voting, election day is at your precincts, or which basically anyone can vote at the high school. Mm-hmm. But then there are certain precincts around town, and we'll go over that as we get closer to the again.
Absolutely,
and that'll be in our paper. We'll have an outline for where each person can each precinct votes. And things like that. We'll go through all that with everybody.
By the way, I'd like to make this plug. The Mead Truth is a non-profit paper that comes out. It's a not-for-profit. We're sending the paper out to you just to give you information so that you can be an informed voter, and you make your own choice at that point. So when you show up to the voting booth, we will have ammoed you with enough ammunition to make the very best target with your pencil to that paper and select the right candidates, like my good friend to my right here, Troy Koch, and all the other fine and, amazing candidates that we have running for this race. If there was ever a time to vote, and I would say this historically, it's now.
Now.
You're going to be able to be part of a constitutional amendment to the Kentucky Commonwealth Constitution in your own state. And there's nothing more powerful than that, to not only come out and say, I vote for something I believe in, which is life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And I mean that sincerely. When you give the legislative the power to not come to session or to come back to session and finish up their days without costing you any more money as a taxpayer, so that they cannot let the executive branch run away with our lives.
That's right.
And have that control. This is going to be an amazing moment for all of us. So come out and vote. Mark?
Hey, guys, we're going to have our regular meeting on the third Monday of October. That's going to be, let's see, what is that today? It's the 18th.
Man, I can't be that quick. Yeah,
I believe 18th. It's the 18th.
Mm-hmm.
And if not, it's that Monday that's right around there. Come out and visit us at our meetings. All registered Republicans are invited to the meetings.
And if you're not registered and you want to register and become a Republican,
I got 2 more registration cards today.
That's amazing.
Yeah, we now if you want to register before the election, you only have until the 10th to get your registration card in. So if you need to register or you need to change your registration, let us know. We'll get something. We'll get somebody to help you get a card, or we'll send you to the right web address. But again, 270-945-3418, and we will just leave us a message. We'll get back to you.
So, and I also want to give a shout out to our young Republican. She's been out running around, knocking doors. She's been recruiting young Republicans. It was part of our goal when we started this to get our youth involved in the county. Troy, I know as part of your plan is to teach and educate our youth about the importance of citizenship in the community, and we are watching it unfold in our party right now today.
It's exciting. It's so exciting.
Really working it hard.
Aris, we want to say congratulations and thanks for all your hard work and your commitment to your community. It's paying off for all of our candidates. So tonight, folks, I just want to say good night.
Good night.
We'll see you again soon. Hopefully tonight you feel more.
Thanks for coming in, Troy.
Hey, I look forward to seeing everybody out there on the campaign trail.
Hopefully you feel more informed now than you ever did before. Good night.
Good night.
Night.